People that try to live their hopes and dreams.
Right.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for your time. How's Portland treating you? Are you familiar with Portland?
I actually worked on a film that was shot here called Behind the Mask. That was, yeah, you know it. Cool. All right. It was a lot of fun. Check it out.
Excellent, excellent. With all your travels and the many different projects that you've worked on, has there ever been an area, a city, country that you have yet to visit, yet to work in that you want to?
I'm not that old.
Well, yes. You've been working. You've had a lot of projects.
I have worked in a lot of countries around
Right.
the world. I've been fortunate, blessed. I left my home state of Georgia when I was 19. Who's that from Georgia? Cool.
I wasn't sure if you were moving Georgia or that he left Georgia.
Yeah. But I wanted to see some of the world, and I have.
Excellent.
Here I am in Portland. I love it. Yeah. Cool.
Is there something about Portland in particular that you like? You have to visit, you have to experience when you're here?
No, it's just nice. I like Portland. Where are you from again?
I'm originally from a small fishing town back in Ohio, Port Clinton,
Right.
which didn't offer much because I don't fish. And that's really all they have there.
Right. Well, it's nice to travel. I like
Yes,
it.
it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I get it for Wizard World, although this is my third time here in Portland, and I have yet to escape like this 3-block radius.
It's a great 3 blocks.
It is a great 3 blocks, absolutely. It's been a rainy 3 blocks this weekend. Anyway, but.
Take a lifetime on those 3 blocks.
So where do you head off next? I mean, you wrap up the con here today. Where do you go next?
I'll go back to New York, working on this show that I'm doing now called The OA. I think I heard you mention that.
I did mention
before
it.
Came out. Yeah. And I'll be working on that.
And then what can you tell us about the OA?
It's kind of a mystical realism, show. The very talented people involved with it. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
that's about all I can say.
Wow, that's very big right there. Is there a window of time where we should expect it to get to see it?
It'll be on Netflix.
Okay.
It's fun. What they're doing now is really amazing. When you could shoot like 8 shows, which would be close to 8 hours, and view it at one sitting, it's that's like an 8-hour movie. That's cool.
Do you binge watch anything?
I do. I binge watch a lot.
Okay. What are some of our recent selections?
I binge watch The Walking Dead for one.
Are you caught up now? Because I think last time I talked to you, you hadn't been caught up yet.
I'm caught up now.
Any thoughts you want to share? I mean, if you're going to ask for spoilers, I don't believe you know anything that's coming up, right?
I know nothing. I
Right.
never did know anything.
So what do you think about the whole situation here? Like just them in Alexandria and Negan coming in. Do you know anything about Negan?
Well, I don't know that. I still haven't read the comics, which I should, because they're based on Robert Kirkman's comics. But I love watching, particularly the people that I was there with, and the new people that come on I get involved with them as well. So it's fun. It's good.
Now, I've always been curious about the stars of the show. Continuing to watch the show, in this case, so many stars come and go, so many characters come and go. Do you still find yourself emotionally invested, like the Glenn story arc, where he was missing for 4 episodes? We thought maybe he was dead. Do you find yourself, come on, let us know what's going on with Glenn?
Well, there's only, from the second season, the only one surviving is my daughter Maggie. So it's kind of sad to see the people that you worked with and dying off, but that's the nature of the show, and you knew it was going to happen.
Right. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of The Walking Dead and so many other properties. So I love talking about it, speculating about it, reading rumors. Not the spoilers, but I like the ideas of what people throw out there. And not to get too much into what happens in the comics, but of course Negan has a very memorable debut in the comics, taking out a very beloved character. But the way I think fandom has gone, when you have a bad guy coming in, the fans almost look forward to the bad guy now. And I've seen a lot of fans want to see this moment happen. And this character, can I say a spoiler from the comics? Would anybody mind, or should I keep dancing around the name?
Go ahead.
Dance, okay, all right, we'll keep dancing then. There's a connection, not a direct, but there's a connection that this character that doesn't live past issue 100 has to Hershel. I think people want to see it happen because it was such a memorable moment from the comics. Do you think, and Walking Dead's never shied away from source material or breaking the source material, do you want to see what happens in the comics, or do you want them to switch it up?
Well, again, I haven't read the comics.
And you don't know anything about the...
No.
Wow, okay.
Initially,
Awesome.
the reason I didn't read the comics was because I knew they weren't following the comics to the letter. And I didn't want to read something that I may have liked and wanted to do, and they weren't doing it, or I was trying to avoid conflict.
Right.
I'm a pacifist. So it was, and things would happen, and they would say, well, that's not the way it is in the comics. And I'd say, cool, what do I know?
So you're a bit easier to work with when it comes to the material, where there are purists that want, in this case, just stick to The Walking Dead, they want to see everything that happened in the comics on screen.
Well, I understand Kirkman has a huge fan base with his comics. It's cool.
So I'm not one. I would like to see something different on screen, because if I want the books, I'll just read the books. That's why they're there.
Right.
But if we're going to see a TV adaptation, I'd like it to be varied. Is anybody else like me in here, or how many purists do we have? All right, we got a couple purists in here. All right, want to see it as is.
Cool.
So what do you think? Do you like it when they differ? I mean, not just The Walking Dead, but in general. Like maybe there's a certain book that you love.
Well, the thing that was interesting to me about the difference between doing like a play where you realize the full arc of the character in one evening, or doing a guest shot on television or a movie where you realize the full arc of the character, and you pace yourself according to the arc and to what you want to achieve within the arc of the character. And I found that in this show, I had never worked on anything that lasted as long as this did, but you didn't know the full arc of the character, so you're planting seeds somewhere where you hope you'll get dividends further down the road. And sometimes those seeds paid off, and sometimes they didn't, but it was kind of more of an organic process that was challenging and fun for me. So I totally enjoyed my life on the show. I enjoyed the creative experience and working with the wonderful actors that are on the show. And creatively, again, it's a challenge, and I loved it. I thought it was fun.
Excellent. Now, did you have an idea when the end of your arc was coming? I know they don't typically tell the actors too much in advance when your character's passing.
Well, in season 4, the third episode, I had a very proactive speech, and I said, "This is not a good sign." Could mean it's over. And then episode 5, when Hershel went into the prison and tried to save the people, I said, "This is it. It's not going to last long." And sure enough, right after that episode, I spoke to the showrunner, Scott Dimple, and he let me know that I was going to be taken off. So, but it was a great experience, and so that was 2 episodes before the one that they took me out, and it was a great day. The episode that we shot, the entire cast and the crew and people up in the office, they all came down wearing Hershel suspenders, and it was really sweet.
I've heard that the cast farewell parties are pretty emotional.
They have death dinners, I guess they're called.
Yeah. Now, when you find out that your character isn't going to around, like 2 episodes prior, do you have to keep that? Is it under the contract that you can't tell the other actors? Do they know? Do they not want to know? So they're legit. The reactions are a bit more legitimate on screen.
I don't know how it is with other actors. I know how it was with me.
Okay.
I know when I was going to die, and of course the people that are there and are reading the scripts, they know it too. So I don't know how long other cast members knew before they were taken out. With me, it was 2 episodes before the one I was taken out. With other actors, it could have been longer, may have been shorter. I don't know.
Like family or friends, do you have people that want you to spoil what's going on? And
No, no one wants you to spoil it. No.
Okay,
and I
'cause
wouldn't.
it's
and
always
I wouldn't.
interesting.
If I knew, I wouldn't, because
Okay.
it's against the culture of the show. It's really a family,
Sure.
extended family.
Mm-hmm.
The experience of working with those people, with
It's-
cast members and the crew as
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
and the producers. It's very tight. You experience something, know. So it's good. So,
Well, the reason I ask that because if anybody's caught Kristen Ritter's Q&A yesterday, Jessica Jones on Netflix, she was talking about how a lot of her friends and family wanted to know what was going to happen, and she purposely didn't tell them because, one, she wanted them to watch the actual show, but she wanted to keep it suspenseful for everyone, even her own parents.
well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you can't tell anyone in the first place.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, and in the second place, everyone wants to know, but they don't really want to know. So you say, who knows? I don't know. You say what you say.
Is everybody caught up on the show on The Walking Dead?
Yep.
I accidentally clicked on an article that had a spoiler about Carl, about what happened to him in the newest episode, and it was cool seeing it. Oh, okay, that's going to happen. But yet, when the scene happened, you're like, oh, that's going to happen. It took a little bit away from it.
So it actually was a spoiler.
It was a spoiler. There was no warning in the
It
article,
actually happened.
and it happened.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a Russian ad.
Do you think that happens often? I didn't think it did.
I think the internet's getting better about this, but it was an actual or a Russian still ad. It was like a poster that showed Carl with the bandage.
Do you want to know what's going to happen before it happens? No. I didn't think so.
I do think the internet's getting better, at least about putting spoiler warnings on there and whatnot, but it's taken a while. But with the popularity of The Walking Dead, I think it's hard to avoid spoilers in some cases, because there's also paparazzi trying to get set photos and, oh, there's a new actor, or this actor's not there anymore, whatever the case may be. But with the popularity of The Walking Dead, did you find as an actor, maybe not yourself, but as a cast in general, more pressure because the ratings were going up? Maybe more freedom? Did you have more fun?
I didn't really pay any attention to the ratings.
Well, the ratings are always good, but it just
Yeah.
continues
Yeah.
to be a juggernaut.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it's very good, but I mean, you're not thinking of ratings while you're studying your scenes or while you're studying the episode you're working on.
Maybe not the ratings itself, but then you see the merchandising expanding, the shirts, the people wearing it.
Whoever would have thought that someone my age would have an action figure? It's crazy. I've got 3, 4, 5 things out there, action figures. It's crazy, an old man with an action figure.
Scott Wilson with karate chop action. Although your Funko Pop figure, the San Diego one, or the Hot Topic, or whatever the headless one was, is still one of the best ones they've ever produced.
They're amazing. I get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, you have a question.
I have many, actually. But starting off with a pun that might take a moment, did you mean Arl?
Did I mean what?
Back when you were talking about the spoiler, did you mean Arl? And I'll let that sink in.
Did I mean?
Carl.
Yes, I think that's what you were talking about, wasn't it?
But yeah, like the way his name is said and whatnot.
Oh, I thought you said that there was a spoiler
Because,
with his Irish
you
folk
sort of
guys.
can't see. Anyways,
I don't know.
The joke that you take the C out of Carl, he can't see. Sort of.
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't familiar with that.
That was bad.
I might have not meant to start out with that, but
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
so if it's okay, I'll ask a bunch of questions all in
Go,
this
please.
section.
Yeah.
So, as yourself, do you right now ship Maggie and Glenn, or like support the relationship?
Well, I do, yes. They are still friends of mine. I see both of them. I don't go to the set anymore, but I see them in LA or I see them at shows like
But
this when we're all there.
in the show. I
In the
mean.
show, do I support them? Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Big
And
fan.
do you think that Hershel was okay with their relationship / secretly supported it as well?
I do. I mean, he gave Glenn his pocket watch that was a family heirloom. So it was, I thought it was a well-written scene when he did that.
Okay.
It was very kind of sentimental and very accepting of him and their relationship.
Okay. And from your perspective, when you were on the set, how do you feel towards all of the people that were acting out the zombies that came after you and all of your other cast members?
The zombies on the show were incredible. They really were wonderful. They had to go through zombie school. And they come out and they're always on. I mean, so as an actor, when you're working and you look out and you see people who are into being the zombies, it really helped you with, you didn't have to think about, are there zombies there? It was there. They were there. So they are a big part of the show. Greg Nicotero does a great job. There are like 3 levels of zombies, the ones that you see up close, and some of them are really just incredibly artistically well done. And the walkers that are the second, would be the second wave, are also more defined. And the third ones, it's just like makeup, but they're walking cells, what they're doing. So those zombies on the show are walkers. They're really terrific. They help the actors enormously.
Did you ever attend a zombie school class? Like pop your head in?
I think I've stuck my head in
Okay.
there once or twice. My first day on the show, they were taking me to makeup, and they took me to Nicotero's place. I guess they thought I was going to be one of the zombies. but I sat there and said, "You're in the wrong room." I said, "No, I'm in the right room. I want to see what you guys are doing." So it was fun.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wilson.
Hi.
So I have a question about, you were in The Heat of the Night. You were also in Cold Blood by Truman Capote, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
And so you worked with Sidney Poitier, and you were probably even more involved with Mr. Blake, correct? I mean, because you guys were sharing a cell at some point.
Did what?
Robert Blake.
Yeah.
He was in in Cold Blood,
right.
yes, sir. So if Mr. Blake was a beer to you, what beer would he be?
A beer.
A beer, a refreshing adult beverage.
He was a beer.
Yeah. What brand?
I don't
What
know if I
name?
have much to do with him. I'll tell you a brief story. When I was 6 years old in East Point, Georgia, Robert Blake was playing Little Beaver, with Red Ryder and Little Beaver. I don't know if you've heard of them. But he was there as Little Beaver, and I got an autographed picture of him when I was 6 years old. And then 18 years later, we worked together. So and you're right, it was a great experience working with Mr. Sidney Poitier and Mr. Rod Steiger from In the Heat of the Night, and Norman Jewison, the director. And it was Mr. Poitier and Quincy Jones, Mr. Quincy Jones, the great musician and jazz, they called Richard Brooks, who was the director of In Cold Blood and told him that they should meet me. Sidney told him and Quincy told him that. And that led to my being up for In Cold Blood. So
Wow.
it was, it's a long time ago, but those are wonderful films to be associated with.
They are very wonderful, and you were wonderful in them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, of course, people come out to these shows. Yeah, absolutely. People come out to these shows excited to meet you, excited to meet all their favorite stars. And you work a lot of these shows, but do you still have a sense of excitement when you meet certain actors, certain other celebrities, co-workers? Is there anybody you get excited to see at the shows?
I have been blessed in my career. I've worked with some of the best actors in film history and some of the best directors and writers. So I'm not jaded. I still love working with talented people. And I hopefully, if I ever stop enjoying it, I think maybe I'll get out of acting.
Is there anybody's work right now that you're really enjoying?
I'm enjoying doing the show I'm doing, the OA. And I am also in a show called Damien that's based on the old film The Omen. And it's the same showrunner, Glenn Mazzara, who was showrunner on The Walking Dead. But now I'm doing the OA, and it's just totally fun working with these talented young people. I used to be the young guy, now I'm the old guy.
No, not at all. Not at all. Young at heart.
Young at heart.
Well, we're going to get back to Damien in a few moments, but we'll get back to the line here.
Hi, good afternoon. Actually, you answered my question. I was going to ask you what an audition was like for In Cold Blood, and apparently you didn't have one.
Well, no, I did have an audition. What they did was get me in the door by calling Richard Brooks. They went over and they asked me to do, I met him and, it was over a 6-week process of going in, and I hadn't read the book at that point in the first meeting. And Richard was telling me that he needed a combination of, and he named about 7 or 8 of the biggest stars in history of film. And I said, well, I think you have the wrong boy. I can't play one of those guys, let alone all of them. Then I went home and read the book, and I said, of course I can play them. So that was the start, and I went back and met him again, and he asked me to do a scene, a monologue, and I ended up doing a couple of scenes from Hamlet.
Well, you were so very good in that. Being a person of a certain age, I was addicted to that book as a young teenage girl.
Capote wrote a great book.
We watched it, my husband and I watched it about a month ago, because I had seen you on Walking Dead, and I'm thinking, I know who this is, and you did such a good job, so I thank you for your experience. We've really enjoyed it over the years.
Thank you.
Hello. My question was, do you still keep in touch with the cast of The Walking Dead?
I do. I see a lot of them at shows like this one, and I see them when they're in LA. Quite often we'll have dinner together, and when I'm in their city, we'll get together. So yes, we stay in touch. It's nice. It's good.
Thank you.
Is there anybody like difficult on the set that when you get together, that you worked on the set with them,
Just me.
no, just you, like Steven only has to have Mexican food or something? Is anybody that difficult like that?
No, everyone. It's all cool. There's never been any disagreements that I saw, that I'm aware of.
And that's top to bottom. Like every single Walking Dead star we've had on the Wizard World Tour will say that about The Walking Dead. Like every cast, every celebrity will say it felt like a family on the show. Yours feels like a family on the show.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Wilson.
Hi.
When you were in The Walking Dead and you were playing Hershel and keeping the walkers in the barn, how did you feel about your character and what he was doing, since it wasn't exactly good or bad and it was more in the gray area?
You're talking about episode 8 of season 2? Is that
Yes.
when the walkers come out of the barn?
Yes.
Well, it was. I think it was very. It was very interesting because the most of the cast were there because of Carol's daughter, and so that was very meaningful to them. For Hershel and his family, his daughters, and it was his wife was in there, and his friends and his neighbors. So that was a pivotal moment. It's interesting that you mentioned that episode because it was a pivotal moment for Hershel. It's when he realized that he had been wrong, and it changed the course of his it changed the course of his life. Really, next episode, he's in a bar drunk. but it was a strong episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Shane pointed out very clearly that these walkers were not going to come back. He did a terrific job with that scene that he had.
My question is, actors always say they feed the best from each other. Was there any actor in The Walking Dead that you felt brought out your best performance, or vice versa, you brought their best performance?
I literally loved working with every one of the actors on the show, and I had the advantage of seeing the first 6 shows of the first season that was 6 shows. I saw that, so I saw what the actors were doing, and I had the opportunity to say no if I didn't like what I was seeing. But I did, and I said I'd love to work with these people, and I did love working with them. There's some people I wish I'd had more scenes with, but it was totally a great experience all the way around.
And personally, one of my favorite moments is when you and Merle interacted for the first time.
Yeah, that was a fun scene.
Talk about opposites right there.
Right. But with a kindred spirit in a way, and you find out in that scene.
Hi, Mr. Wilson.
Hi.
My son and I were just curious if you kept any souvenirs from the show, like possibly your head in a fish tank on a wall, maybe like the governor. Or
I do have a spare head in my closet at home now.
Perfect.
My wife won't allow me to put it out. It kind of freaks her out. But that's where I keep the brains. And, then I can go out into the world without my brains, which is safer for me.
You can't even bring it out April 1st? That seems like a good day to put your head in the fridge or something.
It's a nice keepsake.
It just seemed like they did a lot of work. They put a lot of work into that, right? It's such a great resemblance. It's like, why not just have that sitting there?
Right.
Thank
Cool.
you very much.
Thank you.
Did they give that to you? Did you have to take it? Just kind of sneak it off set?
No, Greg Nicotero made one for me, so it was cool. That was quite an experience when they put this stuff over your head and put a straw in your mouth to breathe through, and you're toward the end you start getting a little claustrophobic.
And that's not a quick process. That takes a couple hours,
It takes
right?
a while, yeah. It was an interesting experience.
And that's got to be surreal to see your decapitated self in so much fine detail, too. It's flattering and frightening at the same time, I'm sure.
Well, if you look at my face, I wasn't flattered.
Touche, touche.
So speaking of having your head decapitated, that probably had to be a challenging scene that you're about to meet your end and get your head cut off. In your entire career, because for most of us that love The Walking Dead, that's probably a pretty epic scene. as well as like the zombies coming out of the barn where you realize your whole entire family that got zombified is going to die. It's a pretty challenging scene to act out. In your career, what has been the most epic scene for you that has challenged you the most, that you have the most pride in of your entire career, not just Walking Dead?
I've been killed a lot of different ways. I guess the sword was probably the most violent, but as an actor, you die a lot of deaths. That was one of the most vivid and scary. But I've been hanged. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've been, a lot of things have happened to me over the years.
So how are you going to top it next?
I don't think about it. Maybe I can survive for a while.
That'd be a nice twist, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Wilson. Question, not so much a question, but maybe you could just elaborate a little bit. My favorite Hershel moments are when you are always trying to bring Rick back. And I just wanted, and those are just my favorite parts of the show, even to this day. And I just, how you relate to him as a character, Hershel related to Rick. And if you could talk about that a little, because it's just, I see you like as kind of the patriarch in some of the scenes, and how you're just trying to just keep everybody calm, cool, and collected. And then, like you said, in the next scene, you're at a bar. But just, I wish, if you could elaborate a little bit about how that relationship that Hershel and Rick, really had during those particular episodes.
Well, it really started in my first episode, which was episode 2 of the second season, out on Hershel's porch when Rick and Hershel were talking about the Black Plague and talking about polio and talking about HIV. And it was, they were kind of philosophizing, and they were kindred spirits, I think, all the way through. And Rick had the burden of leadership that is a burden that he handled well. I think invariably he handled well. It's when there wasn't a crisis that he had his problems. But when crisis comes around, he always rises to the occasion. So I think Hershel had the type of relationship with him that was really started in that first episode. And I think Hershel was good for Rick. He was good for everyone, really, but he realized that